Councilwoman Parsons in opposition. Natalie Iwasa. Okay, come forward.
Thank you, Chair Takuda and committee members. Natalie Iwasa for the record. In my written testimony, I do spell out specifically which portions of the bills I am supporting and which ones I oppose. But I wanted to add to my written testimony. In both the SD1 and the SD2, I had included documents from HART that include many errors. And with respect to the business plan, I think this is especially frustrating because this particular plan is an annual plan. We pay a consultant to provide it to us, and it was on the HART agenda twice, once as a draft and then once it was recommended for approval or adoption. And the second time, all these errors were still the same as the first time. So my question is, do they even read this plan? And if they're not reading it, why are we doing it and why are we paying for it? The other question I have with respect to this is indicative of other plans that we have or other contracts that are within HART that we're paying for and not getting any benefit from? The other thing I wanted to point out with respect to the business plan is that they didn't adopt it because that's when the charter amendments were being discussed, and so the assumptions underlying the plan had changed. But I wanted to point out that on page 38 of the plan, it did reference issuing bonds of a 7 to 10 year period, and that has become an issue now. The projections go out 30 years, and I want you to consider that we don't necessarily need to have bonds going out 30 years. The other important point I wanted to bring up is the signal lights. And this, just to be clear, the HART was to do signal lights at certain intersections, and the state made a decision that if the roadway is more than two lanes, that 3 signal heads had to be above the lanes. That is a higher standard than what is required. And my question with respect to that is, why are we having standards? Why are we implementing these things with higher standards than are required by the federal government? And how many other cases of higher standards is this HART and the state implementing when it only adds to cost? The other points I wanted to make are, we've been told that rail would generate 2,000 jobs. And 10,000 jobs, and we're only at 2,000, which is 20%. And if the ridership is anywhere near what the jobs rate is, if ridership is even 50% of what was projected, where are we going to be with the maintenance and operations on this rail? And I ask you to take a look at that, and part of what the mayor and HART should be doing is providing that information to you now so that you can make good decisions on our behalf. Because one of the things that really bothered me with respect to the SD2 is the fact that you mentioned that it's probable that operations and maintenance, I don't have the exact wording, would be higher than what was projected. And the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services said in January to the Council that his greatest challenge was the operations and maintenance. He wasn't so concerned about the construction. It was the operations and maintenance. I think it's high time that we take a look at what is going on with the rail. We need to dig into these numbers more carefully, and that is incumbent upon you because you are making this decision on behalf of us as taxpayers. So the other thing I wanted to ask you to consider is whatever mechanism you have out there for paying for the rail, whether it's the continuation of the surcharge, whether it's something at the county level, I think we need to have that tax labeled as rail tax. I think that would make people understand exactly what they're paying for, how much they're paying for, and bring it down to a personal level. So I thank you for this time, and I'd be happy to provide any additional information for you if you have any questions on what I've already submitted. Thank you.